Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from Denmark, English language, released in the year 2018, directed by Lars von Trier, and this film is called The House That Jack Built. So The House That Jack Built documents the life of Jack. He lives in the 1970s in USA. He's a serial killer that the press have nicknamed this Mr. Sophistication. Now that's because he's got a morbid curiosity with death and art. And so as the movie progresses, we get a documented insight into the life of Jack through his interactions with a person named Verge. Now Verge may or may not be a figment of his imagination, but this is who he can vent his frustrations to. So what we learn about Jack as he's killing people, he also has a side project of a house. Now the house is his ultimate goal. He wants to create something that is absolutely perfect for him, but the progression of the house isn't going as he wants it to. So there's a lot of frustration that Jack has. Add on top of that the authorities are basically close behind him. So he's managed to avoid capture for so long, but now maybe his luck is running out. So whether or not he can finish his house and basically continue on with his killings before he's caught is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The House That Jack Built. I believe that this is one of the most incredible experiences I've had for the simple fact that it is a very thought-provoking film. Now a lot of people, when this was aired in Cannes, a lot of people walked out because they couldn't stomach the violence, and a lot of other people don't like the film because it's so pretentious. And I believe that is something that is very Lars von Trier. He provokes this response. He's a provocateur. And as a provocateur, you want a response, whether it's negative or positive. That's something that you strive for, and I think that that's exactly what Lars von Trier gets in The House That Jack Built. This is a very pretentious film. It's a very thought-provoking film, and it's an extremely violent film. So if you can't stomach those three aspects, then this movie is definitely not for you. But if you want films that are done in a very unconventional way and a very unique way, then The House That Jack Built is definitely one I would recommend. This is typical of European cinema in that they actually dare the audience to push themselves a little bit higher than you would with a Hollywood film. Hollywood, it's all about staying in the confines of safety in order to appeal to the masses to create a buck. But in European cinema, it's all about the art. It's all about the experience. And Lars von Trier emphasizes that he emphasizes that greatly in The House That Jack Built. This is an endurance test, but it's also a test of your mind. And a lot of people, as I said, dismiss it as pretentious crap. A lot of people dismiss it as basically just glorifying the violence and really reveling in the violence. And I can understand those criticisms, but for me, I saw something a little bit extra. And I'm sure a lot of people out there, especially if you're a fan of Lars von Trier, will see that little bit extra as well. You can see under the pretentious quality that this film has, and it's something that I actually thought was actually very thought-provoking, and it was something that is going to provoke a massive discussion. So on one hand, you have a very, very nasty serial killer film. You've got a career-defining performance from Matt Dillon, who plays Jack, and part of the unsettling nature of this film is that it has a very darkly comic approach to it. And this is something that you can actually laugh at when you really shouldn't be laughing, but it alleviates the pressure so you can make it from start to finish. There's little bubbles of oxygen that you can use in order to basically survive the onslaught that Lars von Trier is about to inflict upon you. And so the comic nature of the film, I think, is something that is very typical of Lars von Trier, and it's typical of his life. Basically, he has depression, he has anxiety, and he's basically using the dark hole in his life and he's splashing it on the screen in a way that is very politically incorrect. And so if political correctness is your thing, then this is definitely not for you. But this is something that, as I said, alleviates the pressure a little bit so you can actually survive what is actually happening in front of your eyes. And some of the stuff that happens, as I said, it's extremely ghastly, very, very hard to stomach. It was on the verge of upsetting me, which is something that is very rare these days, but Lars von Trier always finds a way. And I just think that, alright, this is the reason why he's such a great filmmaker, is because you're definitely getting a film that, as I said, is going to be an endurance test. It's going to really push those limits. So Matt Dillon plays an absolutely superb performance of Jack. He's very thought-provoking. As I said, some of his thoughts are very absorbing. His interactions with Verge is his outlet for his frustrations, and I believe that the most controversial part of this film, not only the violence, but also the art sort of aspect of the movie, is that when Jack kills someone, it'll go to an art montage, whether it's Leonardo da Vinci or any other really famous artist, and Jack will be a voiceover, and he's starting to compare his work to art. And this is where I think the film really gains its interest, is because it's giving you that age-old saying, what is art? Just because we define something as ugly or atrocious doesn't necessarily mean it's not art to somebody else. So it's all very subjective. So it's showing you the ugliness of art. It's also showing you how powerful art can be. And so Jack is killing these people. He's taking photos of them, and he's using that as art. And so on one hand, we can say that it's ghastly. You're killing people. But on the other hand, to Jack, through his eyes, it's art. And so it's the subjective quality of art that makes it very thought-provoking. You know, a lot of people in the past, when artists have made sculptures, a lot of people say it's vulgar, that's going way too far. But as I said, art is the eye of the beholder. And so this is, as I said, it's emphasising the power of art, and I think it was done in a very smart way. And it was also done in a way that I thought was incredibly thought-provoking, because Lars von Trier, when Jack kills someone, it goes, as I said, to that very famous artwork, but then after a while, Lars von Trier integrates his previous works into the film. And so when he's talking about art, you see a clip from Antichrist, or a clip from Melancholia. And so basically, Lars von Trier is saying this is art, and this is where he's starting to integrate himself into the film. And this is by far, I believe, is his masterstroke, is that he is basically saying, and Lars von Trier as the director and Jack as the serial killer are one in the same. They both share that egotism, is that the delusions of grandeur, is that this is art, and basically the egotism that is a characteristic of a psychopath. And so it's basically saying maybe Lars von Trier is a psychopath, maybe this is an autobiography. Obviously it's not, but it's just that quality that Lars von Trier grabs you by, and it actually makes you think of something that you probably hadn't thought about before. And so the thought-provoking material carries this film from start to finish, and that's the reason why I think this movie is actually a masterpiece, is because it took me by surprise, and it was actually going down an avenue that I hadn't seen before. So the supporting cast, you know, Uma Thurman, you got some Scandinavian actors that come into the film. They're allowed to shine because of the way the movie is being written. The writing to the film from Lars von Trier is a masterstroke. It molds these characters into three-dimensional shapes, and it just allows these actors to showcase how good they can be and how versatile they can be. And also the voiceover from Jack during the artistic pieces, as I said, it's something to think about, and that subjective view of what art is. And so that all adds up into a fairly shocking climax, and it's a climax that once again will make you think. Nothing is ever holding your hand in this film, which is once again typical Lars von Trier and European cinema in general. So if this sounds like your type of thing, go out there and see it. But if you're not prepared for something that is completely unconventional and very, very brutal, then I would probably steer away from it. So the only problem I have with the film is that for certain people, they're not going to be able to finish the movie because it is very, very different. So if you're one of those people who likes to see different type of movies, or if you love European cinema, then The House That Jack Built is definitely for you. I wouldn't recommend it to people who like standard serial killer films, because as I said, it's very ghastly, there's some very, very shocking kills, but the way it tells its story is very different. So whether or not you're going to like it, I don't know. But for me, I love this movie. I think it was an incredible experience, and as a result of that, I'm going to give The House That Jack Built 5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.